Now, on Wednesday, the Russian President Vladimir Putin embarked on a one-day lightning tour to the Middle East. The agenda: two key meets, first with UAE's President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and the second with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. The UAE and Russian presidents met in Abu Dhabi. Putin was accompanied by 4 fighter jets. UAE jets greeted the Kremlin chief with a flypast trailing the colors of Russia's flag in Abu Dhabi, Putin's first stop. Now, before the meeting, soldiers on horseback and with camels lined Putin's arrival route as well, with Russian and Emirati flags also hanging from lampposts. It should be noted that Putin made the trip to the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia in the hope of shoring up support in the Middle East from two major oil producers allied to the United States, as Putin's military campaign in Ukraine continues to grind on. Both countries are key trading partners for Russia. What does this tour of the Russian president mean? Let me also get in a sense of perspective, and for that, let me introduce my guest today. I'm joined in by Anatol Livan, who is the director of the Eurasia Program at the Quincy Institute. Thank you so much, Anatol, for joining in. Now, at a time when the UAE is hosting the COP28 UN Climate Summit with the world's tallest leaders in attendance, what is the larger geopolitical messaging of this meet between the Russian president and the president of UAE?
I think there are several messages. I mean, one is that the Western campaign to isolate Russia has largely failed. You have, as you said, I mean, US allies, including Turkey, Georgia, and the Gulf states, which are continuing fully to trade with Russia and to invest in Russia and to accept Russian investment. There is also, so this is an important trip for Putin to demonstrate that while, of course, Russia is isolated now from the West, it is not isolated from the wider world. Then there is cooperation, of course, in oil and gas. I think that both Russia and the UAE and Saudi Arabia now have a common interest in pushing back against Western pressure over abandoning or moving towards abandoning fossil fuels, which are, of course, vital to both countries. And I think that this meeting is yet another blow to COP28 and to hopes that oil producers could be persuaded to reduce their production. I fear that is simply not going to happen. And then I think it's also a way, to a limited extent, for Saudi Arabia and the UAE to signal their displeasure with unconditional United States support for Israel in the Gaza war, which of course has caused tremendous anger in the Arab world and in their populations. So this meets several key objectives on both sides.
Anatol, both the visits by President Putin have now been followed by Putin also hosting the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi in the Kremlin on Thursday, where Raisi also raised the issue of the war in Gaza. Are these spate of meetings an attempt by the Russian president to now boost Moscow's profile as the power broker in the Middle East conflict and challenge US diplomacy in the region?
Yes, very much so. But I think also a signal to Washington that, so far Russia has been very restrained over the Gaza war. It has, of course, criticized Israel to some extent, but there's no evidence that it has actually been supporting Israel's enemies. So I think Moscow wants to send a message to Washington. Look, if we wanted to, we could make life much, much more difficult for you in the Middle East. So maybe you should start thinking about compromising with us over Ukraine.
All right. Many thanks to you, Anatol Livan. It was a pleasure to gain your insights on this news story. And with that, let's now shift focus